know. He's told me
That's
that
why
once
you
before.
played.
I was a coach on the field, not very talented, not very big, high, but that's okay. But that's true. And brains and quickness.
But you played for Bruick.
I did play for Bruick, and I think in the 70s and the 80s, the kids were more throwback players. Tougher. I don't know what to say.
That's what I'm
maybe it
telling
was
you.
the upbringing.
Right.
You
Steel mill parents probably
Steel mill parents, they
brought the steel when the kids messed up.
They weren't afraid. Okay, they weren't afraid to give you some love, tough love, but they give you love.
Did your parents?
No, cousins and uncles all did.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So that's the thing. And I come from a big family, and they all came out here after the bombing of, Pearl Harbor, when the area was growing from 42 to 52.
Did you ever get slapped, Dennis?
Yeah. So we were pretty tough. Bob, I don't know if you know anything about the story. Well, coach is right. I was slapped 3 times in one game and ejected. Punched a guy, kicked a guy, face mask guy. That was a little ritual.
But you were slapped by the coach, not by another player.
By the players.
Oh, the players. That's right. They did
players,
the initiation.
Yeah. That was the thing they started in 78 and it went on to almost 1997, 96. We did it again in 99, but it was a thing until it was a way of self-discipline. It started as an O-line thing and then a D-line thing. Mm-hmm. And it was an O-line thing because they had trouble going on 2 and 3. So when they jumped off sides, the head coach was getting mad. The O-line coach at the time, Ron Smith, and offense coordinator decided, all right, we're going to do something. You jump off sides, you're going to take your helmet off, you slap it. So to us, it was better than getting yelled at. So you go to Fontana, and that's why I think they were just so tough kids, because you knew if you played at the school and you messed up, someone had to put your hand behind her head, and it was supposed to go from elbow to elbow, but they would cuff the knuckles a little bit, and when they got into the season, it even got a little better. And it'd be whack, it'd crack you across your face.
So in the game, you had 3 penalties.
In one game.
What were they?
I punched a guy, kicked a guy, and face masked a guy, yeah.
And it cost them
45 yards. I had more yards of penalties than they had in offense as a running back.
The slap must have worked really well, because when you came to Valley College, I don't remember you racking up any penalties.
Yeah, I got a few. But Chafee, good point you make. My first time playing Chafee, it was tense. And for the reason being, Casey Martinez gets ejected in the game, few ejections in the game. Taylor Cooper, I missed my block, and Taylor Cooper comes around the end. My guy's going to make the tackle. I clip the guy. So I get a penalty. So we start taking shots at him. It's a pretty close game, full-on riot, if you don't remember, right? And that game, remember that, Coach? So you know what? Now that I come back, we throw that in there. So Chafee, what's your, as a coach, do you remember that, about Chafee? We pretty much beat him every year back then, right? Until
we did.
In the 90s. Then you came on in the 90s, took over playing in that bowl. So that was big stuff, right? Right? So now, what is it for recruitment? Cross country. How do you get kids out? Because like when Smedley said, talking to Pal, I think the big selling point when you were here with Smedley and when Beach was here with Smedley too, I thought what you guys did better than anyone else. My year, 17 kids went on to 4-year. I was looking at the books. I brought this up. I'll bring it up with you too. I think the biggest selling point is to guarantee the kids are going to go to a 4-year. You know what I mean? If they can say that they know that that's a big draw, wouldn't you say?
It is a big draw, and the teachers here, I can tell you one thing, because I've been here for 35 years.
Tell me.
We've had kids leave our program, go to other programs, and this just happened to one of the girls on the cross country team, left for RCC, came back, and I said, well, what's the difference between here and there? And they said, well, I like the teachers better. They seem to really care and work with them. And you know what? I think a lot of players that have left this place are indebted to the teachers who worked with them,
and that's a big
brought them up to snuff, and Smed did a great job of getting them with into classes.
Gotcha.
And the right classes. When we had Farrell here, he was a counselor.
And that's a great point you make. No, that's a great point you make, because Farrell wasn't a counselor, and you're right. We didn't have counselors so much back then.
No, we didn't.
So you coaches were kind of innovative back in the day. You were basically our counselors.
Well, because Farrell had come from some D1 programs.
So Valley was ahead of the game.
He knew what it really take to get the athletes out. So Farrell, Smedley managed to get Farrell on as a counselor. I don't know if Smed did it, but he went through the process and got hired. So we had a guy
that could get guys to the next level.
That knew to get them to the next level. And we have a counselor. Now we have Andre Wooten, who's doing a good job down there.
Gotcha.
With the same type of thing.
The Wooten from back in Eisenhower day?
No, this is Andre Wooten. He was at Cerritos College.
Okay.
And now he's here with us, which is a huge help, because he gets the ed plans. Wow. All the kids know
So that's the difference in the day back in the day.
Before, we didn't have an Ed Plum, we had Smedley.
You had counselors, but if you didn't go see them, they weren't doing it. But for the athletes, they were just trying to give. I like that. And I think also a big draw with you and Smedley and a lot of the coaches he had on staff, he said you had to hire good assistants. Oh, yeah. And he did that. And you guys being 4-year guys, wasn't such a rule back in the day. You could just be a walk-on coach. But now, you playing D1, Smedley playing D1, that had to help in recruitment, right? And did it a little bit? I mean, what do you think? And you being from the area.
I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. Smedley, wherever he got this defense from that we carried through, that he brought that defense in. But the problem with Smed being an offensive lineman,
gotcha.
And he was a D coordinator at Amont, or he worked there. It was, when he brought it here, it was first down, no yards. Second down, no yards. Third down, first down, because he couldn't stop the pass.
Wow.
So I came from Long Beach State, being in the secondary in a good program. We had Mike Kuklinski, who was the D coordinator there.
So he's a big run guy.
We just meshed Smed's defensive fronts, and you had about 9 of them.
Gotcha.
With the Long Beach secondary.
We did have 9 of them. Boy, we had.
And
9.
now we had a great defense. I think that was really a catalyst that kind of turned things.
Gotcha.
Was the two, and then, some of the recruitings. It's just that Smedley was dogged recruiter. He would recruit anything that was big and could move, and then like he'd send me after guys like Johnny Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
And,
JT goes on to play for the Rams, plays at Arizona State 1 year, goes on, plays in the Rams. Good friend of mine. I coached with him here 4 years ago.
I can tell you a story about him because I went to get him at San Bernardino High School, and he actually ran from me when he saw me coming. I guess, he didn't, no, that was Craig Newsom. I'm sorry. That's Newsom. I'm going this way. He runs around the building.
Green Bay Packers.
No, it's Thomas. I'm sorry. It is Thomas because Newsom was working drywall. Smedley found him.
Wow. Ends up playing.
He was out of school for 2 years.
And just comes and gets.
He was a drywaller.
He goes on to play for the Green Bay Packers and wins
he signed for big money.
Wins a Super Bowl. That was a nice little find.
But Johnny Thomas.
So how did Smedley find these guys? He just find out guys that weren't playing. You would find out guys that weren't playing, and that's what Valley did that a lot of other guys didn't do. You could have been out a year or two. They didn't forget about you. You would find guys. You didn't forget about them. You brought Dimitri Ross here. You know what I mean? Right. And, he's passed now and stuff like that, but he was a great draw. And a lot of coaches, like you said, are life coaches. Right. And you did a good job. And how huge is this, though? Because back in the day, it was a no-brainer. Valley, Chafee, I'd go to Valley. But now, Chafee's had the draw the last 4 or 5 years. Valley hasn't beat him. So this game,
let me tell you a little bit a little insight I know about the game.
Please.
Hadaway's back as a D coordinator.
This year.
Did you know that?
Didn't know that.
Hadaway has been gone. Mm-hmm. He comes back to the program late.
Okay.
He didn't get a summer.
Gotcha.
So he didn't have spring ball,
so he's
obviously.
Putting in all his new sets.
He maybe came in at the end of summer. So now he's still inputting a lot of his stuff. And I coached Rob here.
Gotcha.
And
one of the youngest coaches you brought in, we talked about.
Yeah, well, Rob was he was actually the MVP of the season, and he was same height as you, basically.
Yeah.
But he played a defensive back. We put him in a position to make a lot of plays, and he could make them.
Gotcha.
Great athlete, and now he's back after being on hiatus for what, 3 years maybe?
3 years, walked away. Well, now, the reason he walked away, so now that's going to help this year. That's bringing stuff back. Right?
That'll help a lot. And then I talked to Carl at one of our conference meetings 3 weeks ago.
Head coach he's talking about, Carl Beach.
Said he's been coaching for 50 years. 50 seasons in a row.
Wow. He's ready to hang the hat, maybe?
Oh, I think so.
It's getting close.
No, very close.
So this could be the curtain call for Carl Beach this year, right? Could be the last game ever. We might see the legend.
It very well might be.
That's good. So you guys are good friends, Mm-hmm. Was there a little animosity? I mean, back then, because you were the defense coordinator, and then Carl comes in, and you guys just went to a bowl game. This man says you just walked in one day. That's how he got here.
Who?
Beach. We're not going to go there, okay?
He just walked in. I think, didn't they play at the same school?
No, his brother did. His
Harold?
brother. I don't know if Harold played at SC, but I think his brother did. Harold might have been a couple years younger.
I think they played JC.
Maybe it's
very
Santa
similar,
Ana.
at Santa Ana.
You're right.
Yeah, but they were good friends.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Smed and Carl were good friends.
He's not claiming that.
They came in.
No.
They came in, and actually Carl worked as a linebacker coach for me 1 year.
Oh.
And then the next year, he became a coordinator. I went to cross country.
Gotcha. But you've been great. That's the thing, and I was talking to Coach Powell about you. You've always been real innovative about.
Hey, Dennis, we're at 20, a little over 20 minutes. minutes.
Okay, give
Thanks,
us
Bob.
2 minutes. Bob, 2 minutes. We good?
Yeah, can you go ahead and make sure you.
I've got
ask
it.
Coach-
Greatest.
Ask Coach what's one of the most memorable coaching experiences, and also why Valley College is important to getting kids into 4 years.
Okay. So, Kim, we're going to wrap this up in a second here. I got a couple more questions for you. That first of all, as a football coach and track and cross country, you've done it all. I mean, in 35 years, Coach Love, what's your most memorable? And both sports, maybe. You know what I mean? Give me a couple things that you think that comes to your mind when someone asks you. I know you got so many great moments
Sheesh. Memorable.
in football.
Some of my greatest memories are just listening to Coach Smedley give the team talks before a game or after the game. I mean, those are memorable. I'll remember a lot of them because Smed could really come off with some memorable quotes. But I really can't say them on the air, so we'll go to some other things. But memorable, like some of my distance guys that I've coached subsequently, state champions, many levels. It's nothing's better to see your athlete, battling to win an event that not a whole lot of people can do, run 4 miles and still have enough gas to win it. And see these guys win 5,000, 10,000 the same meet. And the steeplers and all those guys, that's memorable.
And they go into the 4-year? I mean, so how many of those guys go into 4-year,
Almost
go
all of
back
them.
into coaching, and come back to you and still know that you were the foundation that made them, like the thing.
Matter of fact, one of the guys, Ricky Etheridge, who left, he's now Coach Etheridge, he's helping me.
Okay.
He was state champion, and he had rides to anywhere he wanted. Texas, El Paso, he could go to Baylor, Arkansas, they all wanted him. Out of here. Because we had great opportunities, and he's indoor national champion 2 years in a row, and it hasn't happened. But and now he's back, and he kind of
Tyree Washington, I know you were part of that.
Tyree Washington actually picked him up from the bus station.
Picked him up from the bus station, brought him here.
Pat Johnson was went up to Oregon. He went to Oregon with Pat.
Quit it.
Yeah.
So he went to Oregon with Pat. Pat Johnson played with the Baltimore Ravens, Redlands guy, actually a state champ too.
Exactly.
He's the one that beat him probably, right? That year, Pat Johnson? Because that was the same year.
No, he didn't beat him in the 400, but Pat was a different event. Pat was 200.
Goes on, wins a Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
Wins a Super Bowl. Okay,
Yeah.
played 3 years
and
in the pros.
So, to see him what Tyree did, we've have letters from other schools that, he just basically shocked the world.
Yeah, he did, and then when he did that school. So we're going to get out of there, but I think one of your memorable moments had to be when I popped off in Cal High Sports, and Smedley ripped me from head to toe. I said we were going to have the best team in the state,
That's
and we'll go undefeated. And they publicized it in the national magazine, and I was singled
That
out.
was hilarious.
But we ended up being out okay. Number 3 in the state, number 9 in the nation.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to have a lot of talent and great coaches. So
Yeah, we had
thanks
great
again for your time. I'm
Yep.
with Ken Blumethal, legendary. Like I said, you saw the played, all CBL, the awards you got.
a lot of
Appreciate it, Ken. Thank you so much.
Thank you,